Hey everyone, what's up? So, how's everything? Welcome to the another episode of this podcast. And the reason to start this channel is again simple, to help African entrepreneurs become influent leaders by promoting their brand, their culture, their business skills, and sharing their success stories so that they can easily connect with the foreign investors, and this will also keep the African youth inspired. So today the gentleman that we are having today is really inspirational for all the youth who want to become an entrepreneur. He's a success coach. He helps young people discover, deploy and develop their potential to the world. And they have a one goal. They have a team, bunch of people. They are in a team. They are working for TEDx. They are doing a lot of things, and their goal is that Africa will rise, same like the goal of the Africa, the next big thing. So here he comes, Peter. He is live with us today, and here he is. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, hi Chirag. Thank you very much for bringing me on board. I sincerely appreciate. I love what you're doing. Like I told you earlier, I love what you're doing. It's an amazing vision. Yeah, Africa actually is the next big thing, and it is good that you are driving this movement.
Yeah.
On behalf of all of Africans, I'm appreciating you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's so nice of you, Peter. And Africans are very nice because I've been there for 5 years, so I know how
Yeah,
nice, how loving these people are. So,
yeah.
Peter, I just want to start with your background, like how did you started? What is your education? And then what comes to your mind that yes, you decided you want to become an entrepreneur and you want to go there.
Okay. So the thing is, I've always been an entrepreneur. Let me use that. Let me use that word. So from when I was in primary school, we use when you are in say kindergarten, when you're staying at your early age, when you're between 6 to about 10 years, they call it primary school in Nigeria. So when I was in primary school, then I always like looked for opportunities to sort of like make life better for people. So I remember that my friends then in primary school, some of them could not afford to buy sweets, and children, when you cannot afford something, you tend to start begging for those things. So what I remember doing with my friends then was that we repackaged sweets and sold to some of my friends when I was in primary school. So that has been a part of my lifestyle. When I go to the higher institution, to the university, I also did a couple of businesses to just to solve problems. My mindset has always been, okay, how can I solve problems? How can I fix a particular challenge? And then after graduation, I realized I needed to, because I when I saw my goal for the future, I knew I wanted to play in the industry space, because I wanted to play within the agricultural space. I wanted to create employment in massive levels. So I needed to understand what goes on in the corporate world. So I made up my mind to step into the corporate world and then learn how things are done in the corporate settings. So I got a job. Luckily for me, I got a job as a supply chain professional, and I interned for about 8 months before getting converted to a full-time staff. And then currently now I'm also in a new company. So it's a multinational company, but they are new in Nigeria. So and I'm working together with the team to see how we can build up the local subsidiary of this particular company. And it has been an amazing journey. How did I become a success coach? It also lies together with what I've mentioned earlier on. I hate poverty. Let me use that word. I hate poverty. One of the things
Okay.
that drives me the most is poverty. So and I come from a very like a very low background. So I have
Okay.
experienced what poverty means. I have seen what
Yes.
poverty means. I've seen it live and direct. So and I hate the sight of it. Then I began to do a lot of studies. Okay, how can people break out from poverty? How can people break out from poverty? And I realized the only way to break out is by increasing your income. So when you become more valuable to the world, then you can actually break out from poverty, because now you attract value to yourself and then you increase your income. And I realized that was the answer to the question. That was the answer. If I can help people become more valuable, then we can actually end poverty in Africa. So I made up my mind that I was going to become a success coach and help as many young people as I could to, first of all, discover themselves. So when you discover yourself, you discover your potential, you discover what you are passionate about, then I show you how to develop those potentials, and then as well as how you can deploy them to the world, so that way you can add value to yourself and then add value to the world. And through that way, you can also um, increase your income, and then when you increase your income, you can also replicate the same process for other people too, and that way we can rise by lifting every other person. So that was the mindset behind me becoming a success coach.
Oh, that's really inspirational. And yes, of course, if you have to remove the poverty, you have to sometimes generate the employment level, you have to generate, you have to give more opportunities to them. But the one thing is, like you said, that you are doing as a coach is you are educating people, you are giving them a new
Exactly.
skills so that, they would come to know, okay, now this is something that we have to do next. And that's how, like, they are going to change their lives. That's really inspirational.
Exactly.
And what were the challenges that comes, when you try to, because of course there are a lot of challenges. Even I come from a middle class family, and I know that
Yeah.
from being in a middle class family, what it takes me to become where I'm at today. So what were your
Yeah.
challenges?
So definitely, no journey is seamless. So there's been a lot of challenges. Like I mentioned also, so I also came from a middle class family here too, and so there are times that you need money to do certain things, but you are financially constrained. We're currently organizing an event right now, and we're also financially constrained. But regardless of the financial constraints, we are still ensuring that we are striving to see that that vision is realized, and that's like the dream. So regardless of the financial constraint, yes, there would always be financial constraint. Yes, there would always be particular challenges, but we cannot allow those challenges limit us from forging ahead. So, first of all, when I was in school, I took up a course. I studied economics when I was in school, and then unfortunately for me, did not like the course, and then I also did not like the environment. So, I had a negative mindset when I was in school, and at the end of the day, I finished with a second class lower. I finished with a 2-2 degree. That was the call it in Nigeria. In fact, when you finish with a 2-2 degree in a country like Nigeria, you should be doomed to unemployment. You should not naturally get a job. It should be difficult for you to get a job, like because the jobs are reserved for first class students, that's all street A students, and then second class upper students, as you call it in Nigeria. So I finished with a 2-2. But regardless of that of that challenge, I ensured that I developed myself. I kept on investing in myself. I kept on investing in my mind, and eventually I got a job. And a few months after getting that job as an intern, I got transferred because of my consistent personal development to a full-time staff, and I'm living to some extent, gradually achieving my financial goals. Regardless of my background of coming with it too. So it's also the same thing for many Nigerians too. Yes, you're coming from a terrible background. Yes, we will definitely face challenges every day. There's no day I don't face challenges. It is part of what we enjoy as Nigerians, challenges. It is part of what we
Yes.
enjoy. It is part of your daily life. So you become used to experiencing challenges. So as you become used to experiencing challenges, you must also become used to overcoming challenges. You must also
Of
become
course.
used to focusing on the vision and looking at the vision rather than looking at, oh, I am facing through this, I'm passing through this problem. When you focus more on the vision, you will find out how to overcome the challenges. So
How
really,
to.
that's been like the mindset for me.
Oh, absolutely crazy, Peter. And that's really amazing, And my next question to you now, right now, is because one thing is coming. I have just done a little study, and according to a study,
Yeah,
it's come to know that Africa has the highest adoption rate. Like they are the, like,
yeah,
rather than other countries, Africa has the
exactly.
highest adoption rate. But why Africa is lagging behind in technology?
So okay, I think of recent I was seeing an analysis on telephone usage in Africa, internet usage in Africa, Bitcoin usage in Nigeria particularly. I think Nigeria at the time was the highest user of Bitcoin at the time. So yes, like you mentioned, that's very true. In terms of adoption of technology, Africa is like on the rise, and this is the reason why 800 million Africans are young people. 800 million
Yes,
Africans are youth. So Africa is considered the youngest continent in the world. So definitely you should understand that whenever you have a youthful population, you should definitely expect them to want to flow with the trend. And then the internet has made the world a global village. So even though Africa is lagging behind in many things, the youth, the young population are not lagging behind. We are following up and we are catching up with what is going on in the global trend. So that's one of the major things that is driving Africa's adoption rate. You will notice that in terms of tech, Africa's adoption rate is very, very fast. In other industries, it might be slow, but in terms of tech, because of the fact that young people are the guys behind tech, the adoption rate has been very fast. But when you ask me what are the things that are hindering this adoption rate, or whatever, or what is hindering Africa from rising, regardless of this adoption rate, I would say there are many reasons, there are many challenges. I'll be sharing one of them. definitely during this our conversation. I call it selfishness. Like I did
Okay.
a study and I just realized that there is a mindset of selfishness in majority of Africans, and it is cut across different countries. So you see corruption, and corruption, the root of corruption is selfishness. So when you are thinking of only yourself rather than everybody, when you have a me mindset rather than a us mindset, you tend to only want to do things for yourself and forget every other person. So there is that mindset of selfishness, not just from the politicians, not just from the
Yes.
government, but from Africans ourselves,
From
and then
Africa.
also too that um, that particular mindset has affected many industries. So the industries that should make um, tech thrive, that should make agriculture thrive, that should make productivity thrive, they are dying. So we don't have energy. For example, in Nigeria, there's no energy. We don't have sufficient energy. We don't have sufficient access to capital. We don't have sufficient access to human capital building. So young people are not trained. Just as like I mentioned earlier, we have about 800 million young Africans. When you see the statistics on out of school children, it's also very massive. You have about one third of African youths that are out of school. So we are building a potential time bomb by not educating the youth. So all of these particular challenges are the things that are currently hindering the rise of Africa. But there are many challenges, but I bring them all down, or I narrow them all down to selfishness. If Africans can start thinking more about every other person rather than only themselves and their family, I think we will rise.
Right. So these are the main challenges according to you. The selfishness that you
Yeah,
have mentioned. And I also want to
that
bring
is
a
like
point
my
over here. I just want to add a point over here is that when I was also working, in my previous company in Ghana, where I was. So I just found out one thing, like, a person who is a superior, a manager, you can say, or you can even say the boss. The biggest fear that these people have is like, we don't want this employee to grow much, I don't want this man to take my place, and all these things, like, the old
yeah,
mindset. They're still with
exactly.
the old mindset that they are working with, instead of they should support. Let's say if I'm into technology, and my let's say my boss is into some different industry, and I love to
Yeah,
study more about technology, so he would rather invest in me. Okay, man, this is the money, this is the capital, go, I'll support you, you make this business for me. And he would eventually see that his business is growing in an exponential way. But again, the
exactly.
mindset, like you have said, the selfish mindset, no, it's me, it's
That
all
is like
about
the
me and all. So
yeah.
that's I just understood your point. So Peter, my next question to you right now is, see, Africa is abundant with lot of natural resources, which
Yeah.
includes your diamond, gold, oil, natural gas, uranium, platinum, copper, iron, bauxite, and most important, cocoa. Because in Ghana also there are a lot of cocoa beans.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
why the unemployment rate is rising in Africa?
Okay, like I mentioned earlier, also, I did the statistics about Africa's resources, and I was almost living depressed, but rather than living depressed, I left much more energized to see to it that Africa rise, because in terms of natural resources, Africa is the most blessed continent in the world. I think
Yes.
Africa holds about, if I can recall the amount of I better to third or something. I can't remember the statistics any longer of the natural resources in the world. So Africa is marvelously blessed, no doubt. Everybody in the world actually recognizes that we are blessed. You mentioned it's cocoa,
Yes.
we're blessed in arable land, oil. There's everything you are looking for in Africa. But why is Africa not rising? Why is unemployment rate still the way it is? It boils down to our point again: selfishness. Selfishness.
Selfishness.
So the mindset is okay. Look at it. I not everybody can be. They say, like you mentioned, not all fingers are equal. So not everybody can be successful. So yes, you have some successful people in Africa. By the grace of God, God
Yes.
is helping me to also get to that point where, okay, yes, I'm successful. Why don't you also try and see how you can lift up your neighbor to see to it that they can also become productive? We have governments in power. Why is the government not investing in certain sectors of the economy that can help lift people up? But rather than doing that, they are consuming the money on their own personal self. They are saving the money. It is only in Africa you hear them say they store money in the house, or they store money
Okay.
in the sock away. Like we say, they store money in the ceiling. This money these are resources that should be distributed to the population so that they can become more productive. Because how can we take advantage of our natural resources? It is by becoming productive. When we
Right.
produce, we export outside of Africa, and with that we can attract value. Life is very simple, and the world is very simple. It's life operates on value. You can only it is whatever you give out that you receive. You cannot
Right.
give out one and expect 20. It is if I give out if I want to expect 20, I have to give out value worth of 20. So what Africa is basically doing is we are only exporting our natural resources in their raw form. There is no conversion to finished goods. So we export it out of Africa. Those in the
Mm.
Western world get it from us. They convert it into finished goods, and then they sell it back at an higher price to us. And then at the end of the day, we are the losing end. So we need to Africans need to take responsibility for taking advantage of these resources. We need to wake up to our responsibility. We need to wake up that and realize that nobody is coming to save us. Nobody is
Of
coming
course.
to save us as Africans. We have to
Yes.
save ourselves by taking advantage of all of these resources. I cannot have farm and then I'm not planting. In Africa, also you also hear that there is extreme hunger. So we are sitting on arable lands, but yet there is hunger. Why? Because
Yes.
Africans are not taking responsibilities for becoming productive. And that is where we need to start changing some of these things. We need to start accepting responsibility. Outside of selfishness, Africans need to start accepting responsibility. We need to stop blaming colonial, oh, because I was colonized and so on and so forth.
Mm.
That happened years ago. That happened about at least minimum of 60 to 80 years ago. We need to change from that mindset and begin to accept responsibility and say, yes, we have to change Africa. We have to take advantage of these resources that we have to transform the way Africa is. Look at the countries like Dubai, regardless of the fact that they had limited resources, but because they had a mindset of responsibility, they had the leaders with vision, they were able to transform their economy. Look at India. India is one nation that I respect a lot. You guys are blessed with
Yes.
wonderful population, you are blessed with some wonderful resources, and you are gradually taking those resources to transform India. India in the next 25 years will definitely be a world power. Right now, you are definitely a force to be reckoned with in the world. And it's because
Yes.
Indians are taking responsibilities. Look at the tech space in India. It is moving at light speed. They are building one of the biggest tech ecosystem in India because Indians are taking responsibilities. I
Yes.
think I once heard that some Indians that traveled to the country went to the US, they returned back home to build India. That is what we are
Yes.
talking about in
Yes.
Africa. That is what we are talking about. When Africans take responsibility for creating the change and stop waiting for a savior to come from a Western nation to help us or waiting on our leaders, we make up our mind that regardless in my small way, in my small capacity, I am adding value. I'm adding value to the economy because at the end of the day, the gross domestic product and the value of the entire nation is a function of the value of each and every citizen of the nation. So if I'm not valuable, if my brother is not valuable,
Mm.
if my next neighbor is not valuable, then the nation cannot be valuable. When I'm valuable and I can help my brother become valuable and I can help my next friend become valuable, then Africa can rise. And that is like the mindset.
Africa can rise. Oh no, that's great,
Yeah.
and that's good that you also mentioned the point of India when it comes to tech industry. So here I just want to share a very small story with you. It was a long time story.
Yeah.
Like I think it was around I think in 2000 or I don't know when George Bush was the president of United States. So one day he met Bill Gates, the owner of the Microsoft.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
he met him and he asked him that why have you hired the CEO who is an Indian of Microsoft. You should have gone for an American. And Bill Gates said, sir, if I let this man go today, tomorrow there will be 10 more Microsofts that are going to come. So better let me keep him. I don't want
Exactly.
any competitor for
Exactly.
Microsoft. He said, okay, you
Exactly.
can keep it. No, no, no,
That's the
that's great.
mindset. That's the
That's the
mindset.
mindset. Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. So, Peter, according to you, how big is Africa market when it comes to startups, and how an entrepreneur contributes to the country economy?
Okay. Right now, I'll tell you. Like right now, the best place to invest is in Africa. Why? There are lots and lots of challenges. I mean, a
Hmm.
lot in terms of development. Africa is very. We are light years ahead. Let me use that word. In terms of development, we are verified. I tell my friends, and I tell a lot of people that are interested in entrepreneurs, that succeeding in Africa, yes, it's difficult, but it's also very easy. All you just need to do is study models that have worked in the Western world, study models that have worked in, say, countries like India, so countries like China, countries like the US, countries like France, and come and adopt them into the African market. Majority of the new ideas that are springing forth right now out of Africa, they are ideas that were brought from foreign countries. And truth be told, this is a
Of
perfect
course.
strategy. This is one
Yes.
of the ways we can catch up with the way the world is moving at this very pace. This is one of the ways we can catch up. So we can just import those ideas, import those strategies into into the African market, and adopt them to fit the African narrative, adopt them to fit the African market, and that way we can begin to solve our problems. We don't need to start trying to think of new ideas. We don't need to start
Right.
trying to say, okay, how can we bet for something new? How can we do something that has not been done before? Yes, it's good to do that. But right now we're even saying some things have been done in Western world that is working. Why don't we adopt those things that are working into our own very system? So the truth is the African market is very, 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 very big. And that's why you will notice that right now investment is coming a lot into Africa because
Right.
investors can actually see the potential. Like we mentioned earlier, Africa has 800 million young people. That is,
Yes.
and we are the youngest continent in the world. Whenever you find a country or a continent that has youthful population, there are massive opportunities for you to invest in those kind of companies because the young people are the productive aspect of the nation. So in terms of human capital, Africa has it. In terms of the natural resources, Africa also has it. So yes, we are currently facing challenges in terms of infrastructure, in terms of financing, in terms of energy. When those challenges are solved, I can assure you that the investments in Africa will be massive because those are the things that are currently discouraging investors. So when we can fix those particular challenges in Africa as a whole, and then in terms of the seamlessness in trade across Africa, I can assure you that Africa will definitely rise.
That's amazing, the insight that you have shared with all the viewers right now. uh, so Peter, my next question to you now is, like, you are a success and a business coach as well. Like, you are doing coaching and you are training a lot of people. You also have a TEDx kind of uh, proper team, who are working towards that, and you are working on a mission. So I just want, you tell more about that to all the viewers who are watching this right now. Like, what
Okay.
exactly do you guys are doing?
Okay, so let me first of all speak as a success coach. So, like I mentioned, the goal of my one of my missions, and then the mission of my team is really to see how we can help more Africans understand. Is first of all discover the massive potential that we have in terms of the
Right.
massive potentials that we have in ourselves and the potentials that we have available to us. So the thing is, they'll tell you many Africans we are suffering and we are begging when we are walking on gold miles. So beneath our
Yes.
feet is gold miles, but yet above us, because our mindset is not really very positive, we are suffering.
Hmm.
So the first goal we have at that's my team is to first of all see how we can re-educate Africans to see that yes, we actually have this potential within us. And then the next thing is to also see how we can help Africans develop these potentials. So you are a graphic designer, you love to do graphic designing. How can you build your skills on graphic designing? How can you take advantage of the University of YouTube? YouTube has provided you with a lot of opportunities to learn. How can you take advantage of learning opportunities? How can you get scholarships to help you build your skills? And then when that is done, how can you sell your skill in the marketplace? It is one
Right.
thing for you to have something. It's also another thing for you to know how to sell it and position yourself in the marketplace. So how to sell yourself, we also teach you on how to sell yourself. And then when you learn how to sell yourself, then how to invest your resources. So you see, it's
Right.
an end-to-end flow. So it starts from discovering yourself to how to invest the resources that you have attracted. And then that
Right.
way, we also educate our students that okay, when you've made these resources, don't now take those resources and say, oh, now I've gotten resources, let me now enjoy my life. As you've gotten the resources, help somebody else. This same teaching that I've given you, take it to somebody else and show the person that same lesson, so that person can also rise. And that way, if we begin to help ourselves rise, we begin to help ourselves discover ourselves, discover the potentials that we have in Africa. We learn how we can take advantage of those potentials, and then we learn how to sell those potentials, how to position it in the marketplace, how to position it in such a way that it can people can be attracted to the value that we carry, and then that way we can now also increase our income. So how can we become productive? So this is like the pathway that I teach as a success coach. Then for TEDx that's what we call the name of the event. I'm
Yes.
actually not one of my friends got a license, prosperity. I think you,
Yeah, prosperity. I know
yeah,
him.
that. So he got the license to organize this event, and then he told some of us that were his friends to let's come together to see how we can organize the event. And the mindset that was driving him when he decided to start this event was to change narrative. Oh, there are negative
Right.
narratives coming out of Africa: poverty, unemployment. We've talked about some of them: selfishness. We've talked about
Hmm.
energy crisis, financial crisis. Currently, right now in Nigeria, students have been at home for over 7 months because there is an education crisis. So all of these are negative narratives coming out of Africa. So his goal was to see how we could bring together Africans that have changed narratives, and then let them come and speak to their fellow Africans on how they've been able to do it and how we all can take responsibility. That's the focus of the
Right.
event. Take responsibility for changing the negative narratives coming out of Africa. And that's
Correct.
really been what the vision has been about. The event will be coming up on Saturday, and really it is going to be focused on all of these things, changing the negative narratives coming out of Africa.
So that's amazing. The great work that you all are doing, and I told you about prosperity because I read about him first and then I come to know about you as well. I
Yeah,
search about you and all. So prosperity, yes. So to all my viewers, as Peter also said about him, such a great thing. He's also doing a great mission. He's doing great for
exactly.
Africa. So I want him to also come to come here, and we are going to discuss a lot of few things, and you are going to
Yeah.
convince him to come here, right?
Don't worry. I would definitely just once we can always discuss about that. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing, Peter. So, Peter, my next question to you right now is like, we have discussed about like how big the potential that Africa has, and
Yeah.
what you are doing as a business and successful coach. So that's great. So, where do you see yourself after 5 years now?
Okay, in the next 5 years, the vision is very clear for us. From next year, we will be releasing some materials into the marketplace. We'll be releasing a book on this particular. The name of the book will be called Startup Youth. So the goal of the book
Okay.
is just to take this model that we have discovered on how Africans can become much more productive, and then sell it in the marketplace for young people. And then we'll be organizing programs and events around this, just to help African youth to get up to speed with some of these things. Then in the next couple of years, we'll be definitely working on an edutech app. So right now,
Okay.
my team is focusing on studying some edutech ideas like the ones you have in India. We've been following up on some of the, like, about, I think, the top four that you have in India, to study their model and how they've been able to succeed. And then we are going to implement the same thing for Africa. You
I
see, like
have
I
all
mentioned
the
earlier on,
access to
right?
that. I have all the access that
Oh,
what you are talking, because I'm doing the same thing. So maybe after this, we can reconnect and we'll see that where I can help you guys in that. I have all the access. I have
fantastic,
all the,
fantastic,
yeah. So
fantastic.
I
That's
am going
that's
to help
that's
you
very
guys.
great. Exactly.
Yes,
That's
yes.
very great. So we are looking at that. So we are looking at building a startup institution where we help people discover themselves. Then we have an entire array of courses that can help them develop their potentials. And then, very, very importantly, learning how to sell. One of the gaps we have in the education sector is the fact that you go to school, you learn how to become an engineer, but you don't learn how to position yourself as an engineer. Nobody teaches you how to
Okay.
sell when you're in school. They are
Yeah, of
only
course.
concerned about you. Okay, you've got a BSc engineering or B whatever the course, but nobody teaches you. There is no part in your course that teaches you on branding, that teaches you on selling. And so you don't get to learn the end. So when you come out into the job market, you now begin to try to find your feet. Oh, how do I write a CV? Oh, how do I do interviews? Oh, how do I pitch to investors? That is what we are trying to solve. So we have how to discover yourself, then how to develop yourself. You have an array of courses that help you to discover, develop your potentials. Then how can you sell your skills into the marketplace? How can you position yourself before foreign investors? How can you position yourself, because now the world is a global market, how can you position your products in the global market? Then finally, how do you invest? So all of this will put them in online program, and then we'll make it accessible to all Africans. And definitely we are looking at how we can subsidize it so that every African can be able to afford it. So in the next 5 years, we'll be definitely working on that. That's one of our biggest goals in the next 5 years. So in the next 5 years, we are seeing to it that we've been able to complete that, and at least minimum of 100 Africans should have been reached within the next 5 years. That is our plan.
So that's amazing, and you know let's hope for the best, because I know that because you are having a
Yeah,
great team, you are all inspired, and you all work as a team. So definitely you guys are
exactly.
gonna achieve that. So what do you want to appeal to the investors, of North America, Europe, and even India, because they like to invest in startups, and yes, even I have some access to them. Like this episode is
Yeah.
going to be watched by some people, who are from Germany. I have a lot of investors from Germany, from USA. What do you want to appeal them about the Africa market?
So really, if I'm going to appeal to investors right now, I will really tell them to really invest in the edutech space. That's one of the places
Edutech.
where, yes, the edutech space. So building capacity development of Africans. So one of the ways we can actually solve our problem in Africa is when Africans are well educated. Like I mentioned to you, we still have a major gap in terms of education. Right now, Africa is
Yes.
in an education crisis. I may not be able to speak for the entire Africa, but I can speak for Nigeria. Nigeria right now is in an education crisis. Students have been at home. This is students in higher institution. Students in the universities, they've been at home for over 7 months because of strike. And then that is a big gap in their learning. So
Right.
really the edutech space right now is one of the biggest spaces to invest in. And that's why you would have currently seen we have a lot of tech guys that are coming out of Africa that are succeeding now in Europe and the likes, and in the United States, in the United Kingdom and the likes, tech guys, because we are seeing a little bit of investments within that space. Another space to invest in is in the financial industry too. The financial industry, many businesses, all they need right now is funding. So if you can invest in the financial industry to see how you can support SMEs, that's another powerful a place to invest, and then you will definitely reap amazing return. Then I have these three marvelous places to invest in. In fact, one of my goals in the future, say the next 10, 20-year goal, is to invest in these particular three sectors: agriculture, real estate, and the water sector in Africa. Those three
Right.
sectors, invest in those sectors, and I can assure you that there are a lot of opportunities. In Lagos, I live in Lagos. It is said to say that 70% of the houses in Lagos are informal houses. It means
Right.
that 70% of houses in Lagos are not constructed based on government policies. I don't know if you understand what that means. It means
Yes.
that
Yes. Yes.
70% of
Of course.
houses will be destroyed in the nearest
Yes.
future.
Oh.
And Lagos is the hub of development in Africa. So you can imagine
Yes.
what will happen when this actually happens, when we when 70% of houses are destroyed. So this is massive opportunity for you to come and invest in real estate.
Right.
Lagos State definitely will become like the modern New York, the modern Dubai, the modern nations we've seen, and rather the modern cities we've seen. And what drives the city is their real estate sector. So investment
Right.
in real estate in Nigeria is also very hot. We mentioned it earlier before in terms of agriculture, massive opportunities for agriculture. Investments in agriculture, you will definitely give massive returns, as well as the water sector. So those are some of the sectors I believe that um, um, investors all over the world can come and support. And then if they are interested in seeing Africa rise, they can come and support these various industries.
And are you also open to collaborate with them? Let's say if they contact you
And
tomorrow, so
definitely,
you are going
definitely,
to assist them.
definitely,
Yeah.
I am very, very open to collaborating with. And right now, my mission for Africa is just to see Africa rise. And anybody that is
Right.
concerned about seeing Africa rise, I connect with you. I connect with
Oh,
that
that's
vision. I
great.
connect with that mindset. That is one thing about it. Yeah.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So, Peter, this is one of the best episodes, that I have recorded, and I come to know so much insights from your experience, and I'm really loving it, because see, the uh, goal of this channel, Africa, the next big thing is, to tell the world that yes, Africa exists, the youth exists, the entrepreneurs are
Yeah.
existing, and this
Yeah.
is a country which has a lot of potential. So, Peter, my last question
Exactly.
to you is very simple, which I ask in every episode. what advice do you want to give to a youngster who is between 18 to 25 and who is watching this episode? What one thing he can learn
Okay.
from here?
Yeah. So one thing I would one thing, or better say, let me just quickly speak about let me just okay, one thing that every young person should do to rise and to increase their income is to understand that you cannot you cannot attract you cannot there's a principle of karma that says whatever goes around come around. I don't, if I get that correctly, that you have to, whatever you are giving out, you cannot attract whatever you have not given out. So life works based on value. Let me
Right.
sum it up in that one sentence. Life works based on value. So until you understand and you accept that mindset, that life works based on value, you might be running and be running in vain. So right now, if you are between 18 to 25 years, 18 to 30 years, right now, you need to start thinking of how can I become more valuable? How can I
Of
add
course.
value to myself? How can I invest in reading books? How can I invest in listening to podcasts like this? How can I invest in watching YouTube videos to become a better version of myself? How can I become much more valuable? How can I create a product that can solve a particular problem in the market? How can I create a company that can solve a particular challenge in the market? It is only through
Of
that
course.
way that you can attract value to yourself. It's only through that way that you can attract money to yourself. And that's the reason why when you study the definition of money, when you study the functions of money, the three of the major functions, value is always mentioned. Money is a store of value. Money is
Right.
a medium of the exchange of value. So there's always value.
Right.
So you cannot attract money when you don't have value. So
Of course.
for every young person that is listening to this podcast right now, I'm going to advise you, ensure to see to it that every day you are becoming a better version of yourself by adding value to yourself. And then as you invest in yourself, ensure you also learn how to position your value in the marketplace. So that would be like my major advice for any young person listening to this podcast right now.
Oh, that's really inspirational. And I also want to add one thing: invest in
Yeah,
yourself. Simple. Because investing in yourself is the biggest thing that a person could have ever done. The more you invest, the
100%.
more you add value, the more you're gonna grow. Whether you are an
Exactly.
employee, you are an entrepreneur, you are a student, when you are investing in yourself in the new skill set, because see, after COVID, the market is changed now. Now new things have come up.
Yes.
The
Yes.
reason being why America and the North Americans, they are superpower, because they are more creators than consumers. Yes, they are consumers, but they
Yeah.
are more of
Yeah.
creators. So
Exactly.
that's one
Exactly.
thing that we all have to shift our mindset. Now we all have to be a
Exactly.
creator rather than just
Yeah.
a consumer. And how we will become a creator? First of all, we have to become a consumer.
Invest.
We have to invest in ourselves. We have to learn new
Exactly.
skills. And once we are
Yeah.
gonna do that, then it's time to help others in doing that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Peter,
Excellent.
for coming
Yeah.
here. Thank you so much. And so I see my viewers in the next episode. So Peter, what do you want to say about Africa, the next big thing podcast channel, the initiative? What
Guys,
the
you guys need to follow up with Chirag. This is the next big thing. He's saying
Of
Africa is the next
course.
big thing, but I assure you, this podcast is the next big thing, because his podcast is going to be exposing you to a lot of opportunities in Africa. It's going to be exposing you to how you can take advantage of these opportunities, how you can effectively position yourself to take advantage of these opportunities. When Bitcoin initially came out, many people did not join the flow.
Right.
It was
Right.
when it was when it had achieved a marvelous success that people began to follow on. So what Chirag is doing is going to help every one of us that is listening and is following up with this podcast to join the flow early, so they can take advantage of the opportunities that Africa has right now. In the next say 20 years, in the next say 30 years, it will not be, it is never too late, but it would have been better if you started earlier. And what Chirag podcast is doing for you is to help you understand how you can take advantage of these opportunities, understand the challenges, understand the opportunities, understand the areas you should focus on. These are the things that is helping you share in this with this podcast. And Chirag, thank you very much. Like I mentioned earlier, thank you. I really appreciate what you are doing with the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's really going to help Africa get to that point we are always dreaming for. And I know that definitely when the story of Africa is told in the next 30 years, in the next 40 years, your name will be mentioned as one of those who drove that change. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for the kind words. And that's why I started, because I worked in Africa for 5 years. This continent has given me everything, especially Nigeria and
Wow.
Ghana. So I just want to pay
Wow.
back, from my heart
Yeah.
to all these
That's
countries.
that, that,
So
that,
thank
that
you
that's
so much.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Peter, for coming here, and thank you, everyone. I'll
Yeah.
see you
Thank you
all
very
in the next
much.
episode of the podcast. Okay, have a
Yeah.
blessing. Thank you.